What's up guys, welcome to YuGiBOOM, and today we'll be bringing you a discussion video, getting back into the game. Alright guys, I got Joe here, I'm with my buddies Francisco and Gary. We thought it would be a good thing to discuss getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Not just if you take a break, but like also adjusting to the game and how much it changes when you take that break. You know what I'm saying? We've all had a different run with the game. Francisco's been a consistent player, never really quit. So,
yeah, we each have different experiences with the game, and as far as how long we've each stayed in and how long we've been consistently playing. I think I've been the longest, honestly, right?
Yeah. So we all started like as kids, pretty much watching the show like everybody else.
Yeah.
Got the structure decks and played and never really knew the game, you know. And then as it got more adaptive and we became more competitive gamers, you know, we all learned the actual game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we all took breaks eventually late in its like runtime. Like Gary played up until about Synchro era, you know?
Yeah, I was playing right when Sun and Moon Dragon was still new. I remember Darkness Metal Dragon was at 3. Good times. Good times.
You see, and so like, and then you fell off from there, you know?
Yeah,
for
I
a
pretty
while.
much fell off. I missed the XYZ era. I missed the Link era, and I also missed
The pendulums.
Pendulum era.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most forgetful ones too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like for me, I played all the way up until the beginning of Synchros. Then I took a break because I, for some reason, wanted to be like my brothers and play Magic. So I tried to play Magic for a while, and then eventually I came back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Around when like Fire Fist and all that stuff was coming out, and Exceeds were already out, and that was the first deck that I personally found myself interested in, and I was just like, damn, now I gotta get used to these cards. And I feel like every time a new mechanic comes out, we complain as a community. Like, we're just like, oh, this seems so stupid, this is gonna change everything. And then either we get used to it, or it becomes even worse than the previous mechanic.
See, as a veteran player, you know, playing since the very beginning and not stopping, I kind of saw that coming a mile away. Ever since they introduced Synchros, I was like, oh, this is what they're going to do. Instead of doing set rotations or whatever, they're just going to bring in a new mechanic to kind of spice up the game. Kind of like how Pokemon does a new mechanic type thing every single like rotation they have. But like, in this case, they stay. Every new mechanic stays within the game, and so it becomes difficult for a new player to learn every single mechanic versus somebody that has been playing their whole lives, and it's easier for them to pick something up because they're learning it as the game progresses.
Yeah.
So.
And I think too, like, going back to you know, like the time gap matters in the game. Like, what was the most broken play you remember, like from when before you got back in? Like now, obviously you play Links and everything.
Yeah, I play a little bit Links now, but like the most broken play back then was like, it's like I mean, I really barely can remember anything past Darkness Metal era. Like right when it hit 3, and I was just like, dude, it's time. It hit like
making a Stardust was a good play.
Dude, getting like 2 Stardust out. Oh my god, you do anything back then. Oh man, we just.
Now
the dragons had so much support even back then. Like it's pretty ridiculous, and now they still have ridiculous support. Barely enough support for Red Eyes, sadly.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, we
got it out.
That's a different discussion.
Story. Yeah, different
Red Eyes
discussion
versus
for a
Blue
different
Eyes. Let's admit to ourselves.
Blue Eyes.
Whoa, admit nothing. Guard dragons are here right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But in that, like, I think it's interesting to where it's like, even me, like, even the Exceed mechanic, like, for you had, Exceed, Pendulum, and Link when you got back, like, really got back in. That's pretty friggin' overwhelming, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to ask you specifically how easy it is for you to learn a mechanic. So, starting from, like, Exceed's era when you were still learning how to do that, how was that for you? How was that learning process for you?
So I think the summoning mechanic itself, I was fine. Like I knew how the summoning mechanic worked. I think it was just hard for me to come into a grips, and especially like I didn't really have decks, like you know how like eventually older decks get support that help them even when a new mechanic comes out. With Exceeds, I didn't really run any decks that like could really utilize the Exceeds yet. Like at least not that many ranks were out that helped me. I think at the time when I got back into the game, I was playing like Frog Monarch Obelisk or some bullshit deck, like like just some random trash, and I was just like, obviously there's no Totally Awesome yet or nothing like that, so I didn't really know what to do, and then my buddy was like, yo, you like fire and samurais and shit, so why don't you build these guys? And he showed me Fire Fist, and I was like, okay, they're all about this new mechanic, so let me just invest in this.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had hella old cards that were worth money, or else I would have never been able to afford that deck, because at the time, crap was expensive.
Right after Xyz, Pendulums came out, and
See, that one was hard.
yeah. So yeah, for you, tell me what your experience with like Pendulums were. Like,
I still don't
how you
understand
learned
pendulums.
it. Yeah, so I'll get to that. So I actually
still don't
know.
understand pendulums.
I'm very familiar with the mechanic, but
I
I'll let
just
you guys
use
go.
anti-spell.
Well, see, that's what's funny. Yeah, I know, right? That's all you know.
Pendulums.
You just know how to stop them.
Anti-spell,
You don't need to know how to use them if you don't run them, right?
What-
Yeah, but,
wait,
no.
what did that do? Round 1, you can have that.
Yeah.
Side.
Exactly.
You were saying
So,
about your experience.
I played all throughout Exceed and like leading up to Pendulums coming out. I never quit since then. But Pendulums were so damn confusing, and I don't know if I'm dumb or like what it is, but it's just Pendulums were so confusing for me. Like it literally took me almost like a year of Pendulums already existing before I finally got how the scales worked and what you could summon and where you could summon from. I thought you could only summon like the first monster that was on top of the extra deck face up. Like I was so confused about how everything worked. And you had like nothing but decks with Pendulums when that shit was going on. So I was just like, great. I don't even know what to negate, what to pop, what to stop, because I don't even know how the mechanic itself works, let alone all these cards that say search a Pendulum, search a Perform Mage, search an Odd, search a Magician.
I was paying Warhammer miniatures at this point. I skipped that
So
phase.
your experience is probably
My
much
experience
more
with
the same.
Pendulums was like, man, there's a lot of spellcaster ones.
Yeah.
That's all I know. Like, and then you had your Pendulum Magicians, and I remember that was annoying. And I was like, wait.
Oh god, that back then, man. I think the only card that was like in that time that was like as good as that deck was like Cyber Dragon Infinity. You know, like he was like a good, really, really good card. You know.
I came back during the XYZ era a little bit with my ABCs when I first came back.
Yeah.
And then I stopped when Links came out for a while, and then I came back when Links that I could use for the ABCs came out. And then that's when I kind of came back, but XYZ was... I actually liked XYZ. The XYZ was really like I think that was a good format. Personally.
Yeah.
I like that format. Synchro was cool, because it was something fresh that it required like an addition to your deck, but you could still do your old deck plays. So like it wasn't like your cards were outdated, besides whatever got hit on ban list. Who would have thought Monster Reborn was going to come out?
Well, and then, you know, yeah, that's true. Well, like that, like the significance of cards, like with a new mechanic or new things when you're trying to get back into the game, you also have
come
to
back.
you also have to adjust to the meta and the cards that are playable or not playable, you know? And the metas now, like especially if you were to have quit a long time ago, what you thought was broken is nowhere near as broken as what's broken today.
Well, it's
you know?
not fully true.
So-
There's some things that are just more broken now. Like some
Yeah.
Going into the mechanics again a little bit more, just because you experience your frustration with Pendulums and your struggles through Xyz, and even up to this point learning the link mechanic. How was learning the link mechanic for both of you like how hard or how easy was it for you to learn each one?
To be honest, to be honest, like Links was a lot easier than Pendulum for me because like in a way Links just kind of work like synchros, you know, a little bit,
Yeah.
So it's like Links were a lot simpler. It's just Links were hard to adjust to mentality wise as a player because obviously like my best deck before Links was Yang Zing Metal Foe.
Yeah.
And so like when freaking Links came out,
Disgusting.
everything I could do. Danglong had already gotten banned in Lithostigem at that point, but like, what am I gonna do? I can't Pendulum summon hella easy and just summon a bunch of crap, and I can't get multiple synchros off now to start my plays. I have to get a Link out first.
There
then
was
I
a
can do-
huge
I-
game jump from the
Honestly,
Pendulum and Link.
I was
mechanic.
happy about the link mechanic. I love the link mechanic, dude. It's so nice to see.
You
people
understood
out.
it perfectly.
Like, it was a lot easier to understand than anything else, and it was such a necessity for the game. Like, they needed to slow down all those decks was being so ridiculous.
Which
Fire
now
Fist.
come to this point in the game,
Oh,
we
God.
know it's
Like,
not true.
You guys are complaining about broken stuff now. Like,
This is the most broken Yu-Gi-Oh has ever been, Gary.
it
I don't think you
has,
understand.
but at the same time, like, at least you have to burn resources. So it's like, whatever they have on the board.
Actually, that could be a lie. I don't think this is the most powerful
Because I would say most powerful would have been probably Darkness Metal with 3. Like Dragons.
Well, no, I mean a lot of
No.
people argue like Teledat. Like people
Teledat,
think about
yeah.
those times when like Yu-Gi-Oh was like a little simpler, so that the broken shit was more creative.
Yeah.
So a lot of people hold those times more true.
Personally, for me, it's funny to hear you guys saying that it was really difficult because every mechanic afterwards, just playing the game consistently has been very easy to understand. And I think really the only reason for that being is because I already knew everything else before it. So just getting into the new mechanic, I was like, okay, I just got to study what this is. How do I summon this? Oh, this is how you do this. Oh, I know what the whole mechanic or the whole gimmick is of what this mechanic is. For example, Xyz monsters. Xyz monsters, you just need 2 levels that are the same to make, one monster, and those become its little effect power unit things. It's ammo for its effect, and that makes them very powerful. But and then pendulum summoning. I understood that one pretty much, instantly. It was like, oh, okay, you have 2 scales, you put one on the other. The only thing I had questions about was, the placement in the cards, but turns out it didn't really matter where you place the pendulum scales as long as you just have them on the field at the same time. And that was pretty much it for me. Like, I had a couple of questions, like spend 2 extra weeks trying to learn pendulum summoning, but after that, just kind of watching the show as well, because I've been also watching the anime consistently since the very beginning, And that's how I kind of see what's coming out brand new in the game and stuff too. Which is pretty funny when I always like, oh, by the way, this is a card that might come out. It might be a little differently than how I'm saying it, but this card's coming out pretty soon. And I'm like, really? No way, that's not coming out. And then like months later, the card comes out, and I'm like, oh, no way.
Well, in this meta, like when I came back in Link format, basically, it was interesting because I always had a chance, or not always had a chance, but what was interesting about it was I got to learn chains and how chains going backwards work, like chain 2-1, or how to avoid an ash blossom by making sure that you have chain 2 go first, so you want the thing that chain 1 goes, it's safe.
And then
Did I say that right?
Yeah. Well, like you learn more. The more complex the game gets, you have to learn more complex rules for the game. And it's like what's interesting is like what you were saying earlier with the new metas is like when did people start playing? I always just assume most people have played kind of consistently, but at regionals, this last regionals, I met a dude. He was playing like a newer deck, like some Lunalight FTK Danger deck, and but he had never seen Evil Swarm Ophion ever in his life. Like he was like, "What is that?" Like, he had to call over for rulings like hella often because of shit, and like, that was surprising to me because I just, even like when I didn't stay consistent with the game, I still bothered to kind of know what was going on in a way. But it's crazy to know that there's people out there who are playing like meta decks but might not know what the hell you're playing if you whip out like Mermails or something like that, like
a Jinzo deck.
Or a Jinzo deck,
Well, that's what I like about this
Always
format right
shout
now.
out to Jinzo.
I feel like a lot of stuff's coming back. Like the only thing that does suck is nowadays every deck. It's not like how back in the day, Joe, like where we can make decks just like with straight scrap cards and they be pretty still decent just because there wasn't something that you had to like opt for. You didn't have to make a synchro to keep up with the other opponent's big boss monster. You didn't have to make an XYZ to have a lock effect on the board so they couldn't special summon or stuff. You had the just standard generic cards where you could get like, you got a deck that can make an Obelisk that was like still a crap deck, but it was still, you put the cards together to make that crap deck work.
Yeah.
Nowadays you can't do that, but what is cool is nowadays there's like all these different small engines of decks that you can use, like how we got the ABC engine with Lightsworn engine. You could run that as, what was it, like World Chalice Zodiac, or what was it? Zodiac
Deck building.
Fire Zoo, yeah.
So
yeah,
deck-
like
deck-
stuff like that. I like those little engines that you can just like, it's a
Like
little
how
more-
Brilliant Fusion worked in
Yeah,
everything
anything.
before it was at one,
Yeah, and like, it sucks that it's a little bit more cookie cutter because you have to, like, zombie decks. You have to have 3 Unizombie, 3 Shiranuis, 3 Mizuki, 3 or 2 Gozukis, maybe a Zombie Master, maybe. So like, I get you have to run those engines, but it's cool that you can run a piece of those engines.
Yeah,
and put
no,
it
I
with
agree.
something, like Kaijus, like my Zombie Kaiju, like
Yeah.
I put that together, like, it's not a super combo-centric deck, but it's a deck that I could, I could do my Zombies engine, which gets out the basic plays, the recycling, blah, 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 and then I got the Kaiju engine to get rid of, like, you got board load? No, you don't.
Yeah.
And, like, I like that you can have answers for things. Like, the meta's a little, like, the whole first turn right now is kind of,
The roll
like
of
if you're
the
going,
die.
yeah, if you're going to
That's
like
the roll of the
locals,
die.
regionals, it really is feeling like roll the die these days, especially with like the serve tour.
Yeah, now, I will admit, now if you're playing meta, like meta decks just keep getting so more and more consistent that like it really doesn't matter what the
Kind
hell
of need
you
to
draw.
have.
Like,
It's like a 3
these
negate
fools could
meta.
open with like 3 mystical Elsa Raigeki and
Mystical
like
Elves.
1, yeah, you know, like just trash and just 1 card from their engine and still get it. Like
yeah,
if you link
like
out.
oh,
Like,
you know, I got.
you know,
this
I'm
spell
exaggerating
card.
a little bit, but like I feel like
It's like
and
your Blue Eyes
that's
deck.
kind of leading to my next point. Is it's like the cookie cutter is like I feel like we're in a 3 negate meta. I
Yeah.
feel like right now, if you're playing a deck and you really want to compete, like we're like a little bit like we're speaking outside. We're speaking very outside the box right now too, because none of us we're all like fun players. Like we like to make decks and keep decks relevant that are older. You know, like none of us have ever really just hella pumped into a meta deck. Even if we build a meta deck, we don't really compete with us. But I understand the perspective of it.
Yeah, some
You
of
know,
us do have
so it's
that.
like I get like when you want to play meta, it takes what it takes, you know. But it's like I feel like every meta deck now is like if you don't run a meta deck that can always open like with a hand trap and set up its own like at least like 2 negates, then you're not gonna win. Like all the good decks now, it's just all about like, oh, I did so much, I double star Yujid and I did all this crap that now I have multiple negates. Plus, I drew so much into my deck that I drew into my Ash and my Ghost Ogre. So when you go, you're not even going to get to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And then when you get to go second, or go first game 2, you can take that win, but I won the die roll first. So game 3, regardless of side, I'm most likely going to win again. You know, it's like, and don't get me wrong, I've lost plenty game 1s and still went 1, 2, and 3. It all takes just composure, and sometimes it's still as simple as like playing poker. It's just what you draw. You know?
Dude,
So-
the poker face is real at regionals, dude. Like sitting there, like both trying to be calm and be like, all right, negate. You look at your card. Okay.
And that's another thing I will say about Gary is Gary didn't casually jump back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Gary tried to learn a deck in one night a couple years ago when
Yeah.
he first got back into the game, and just went to a regionals with us like the week later. You know, like
I think I went.
so.
What was it?
You were like 2, 2, and 2 too
yeah,
for
2,
not
2,
being in the
2,
game
yeah.
for hella long. That's
Which is pretty good, yeah.
That's pretty good, you know. Like,
Actually, nothing because you just tied. Nothing
yeah,
happened.
exactly.
That's
Nothing
San
happened.
Jose
You just
regionals.
went for
You
no
just
reason.
went for
That's
no
what
reason.
happened.
That's what happened.
Hey.
But hey, tying into the frustrations in these mechanics, or just the game in general, and how it's evolved from simple back in the day, 2002 and 2019. Obviously, not every mechanic is perfect when Konami releases it, or when whoever is the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh releases a new mechanic. Look at pendulums. Pendulums were changed drastically from what they when they were released to what they are now. Yeah, you can't summon multiple monsters anymore from the extra deck. You have to summon them in the extra deck zone now. That you don't have separate zones for your pendulum skills anymore. They are a part of your spell and trap card zones. Now, a lot of these changes are really positive changes, in my opinion, even as a person who consistently has played pendulum monsters throughout their lifespan. The mechanic itself was very, very broken, as much as I liked, and I think I was really the only one who liked the mechanic. Everyone was hating on it, and no one was playing it, and I think that's why it was hard for you guys to understand it. But, playing the pendulum mechanic for so long, I saw the changes that needed to happen, and at first I was reluctant because when Links did come out, they did, break a big part of the pendulum mechanic, which made them, playable or even worth playing, versus, having these new Link monsters that, don't have these restrictions as of right now. And I think, with, pendulum being an example of, a mechanic, coming out really fast and changing after another mechanic has happened, makes me hopeful to think that links can be fixed in the future as well. I mean, going in,
What, you feel links are broken right now?
Yeah, and I'll tell you a little bit about why, and most of it is because of a term I've learned from other people called link climbing. And that's really when you summon a link monster and you can use that same link monster with that same value on
Oh, like
it.
Salamander.
Like Salamangreats. And we see Salamangreats as a perfect example of why I'm not a real big fan of this little mechanic here. And also another part where you can have your link mechanic steal up all the zones to the other person's extra deck. I think locking them down from a crucial part of the game is a no-no.
To be fair, a lot of those decks that you link, to even do the play, like, you have to have the play so well memorized and not get awkward ash in between or something, like, yeah, you can still pull it off usually, but if they burn a resource at the right time, that whole play has to be so fluid that one interrupt, even if they don't pull it off right, they basically don't get that second negate. Like he was saying, the 3 negate meta, you won't have the 3 negates, you get like the 2 negates, and then he baits out the 2 negates after that, he can usually get over on the last bit. I mean, of course, no one's that lucky usually unless you're just running another meta deck. But if you're facing meta, it's like when I say in like a shooting game, like if you put 2 people at the same skill level, and they both are doing the same thing, that's when you decide if something is broken or not. Like, so if you have like Salmon Greats, you have to put them against like the Subturb meta right now, or something that they have to deal with, that both decks don't want to deal with that, or Thunder Dragons. Like, all of those 4 decks or 3 decks, like those decks hate each other basically.
Yeah, a Sky Striker, throw them.
Yeah, it's like
still got them Trickstars sneaking around too, never been touched.
Yeah, but like I mentioned beforehand, though, like a mistake or a misplay doesn't excuse a broken mechanic or blocking someone out.
Well, I guess we chalk it up to like the audience as well too. Like whether you guys think if it's too broken, like is Link way more advantageous than all the other mechanics? Like would you put Link more broken? I guess that's my question to you. Like would you say Links are definitely, because I feel like going back to what I started at the beginning of videos, all mechanics at first we think like this ain't gonna work, but now like look at me, half my decks, even the decks that do synchro, like even my Dragoonities, it's like 3 synchros now and the rest is all Links. Let us know that in the comment section below for sure, like what era, what deck, what all those things, what you think was the most dominant and stuff
tell
like
us
that.
when did you start playing the game? What time did you get into the game? Where was it too confusing at a certain point? Did you need to get help from somebody online or a friend that knew how to play the game? I mean, we're interested in that kind of stuff. Everyone has different ranges of and skill level and how they got into the game.
What's up, guys? YuGiBOOM just hit 800 subscribers on YouTube. Woo! We're on the road to 1,000. We're gonna keep bringing you guys awesome content.
Road to 1K.
The road to 1K, exactly. We're gonna bring you awesome content and a giveaway.
So one lucky winner will be able to win 2 boxes of dual power. There's some awesome reprints in there, and hopefully you're the lucky winner who pulls those reprints.
How do you find out who's the lucky winner? Follow us on our social media sites, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Keep an eye out.
remember, check the link in the description. YuGiBOOM out.